It's Bones' birthday today. Today I am drawing his fursona, Calamity the Space Otter. And I think because it is Bones' birthday, you all need to draw Calamity the Space Otter, also known as Calamity from Space, because I think it would make Bones happy. I mean, you don't have to, but... So the reason I'm drawing Calamity is kind of, I don't know, for the longest time, Bones has wanted me to draw his fursona. He's had Calamity for a long time, but I just haven't. Not because I don't want to, I just haven't had time, and I'd have to sit down and really design Calamity quite a bit. All I know about him is that he's an otter, he's from space. Bones is also an otter from space. And he has 4 eyes. Everything else, neither of us know. I always imagine him as a teal otter. Don't know why, that's my headcanon. So Bones laughed quite a bit when I showed him this, because it's just an otter. It's not like a furry or an anthro. It's just an otter in a cape. I was like, this is just what I picture when you tell me Calamity from space. So I don't get to do much of an OC story time, because there isn't really an OC story time to Calamity. So I'm just gonna talk about Bones and creative partners in general. Bones is pretty great. He is my sweet fiancé boy. You've heard him on this channel. Y'all know him. I love him. He's cute. He is the writing half of our comic duo. I do all the art. He does all the writing. Same with our channel. He does all the writing topics. I do all the art topics. And we've been working on comics for 7-8 years now. Our 8-year anniversary is coming up for how long we've been dating. So that's coming up next week. But yeah, we've been working on comics for about as long as we've been dating. We really lucked out on that side, on that end, I guess, because for one, we really liked each other. We were best friends for a while, and then eventually we started dating. And I loved all his writing. I was his biggest fan, and he really liked my art. And we both like comics. I'd been trying to rope a friend into writing comics for me for a while. We both like comics. We role play together all the time. We had, in high school, we were part of a role play group. So it was us and a bunch of friends who would get together after school and role play together. We played, what is it? Bessem? Big Eyes, Small Mouth. It's an anime-based RPG. So we started by playing that, and eventually we would just, we got tired of, using all the rule books and stuff, and I think eventually the person who owned, the guides for Bessem left, so we were well, we don't want to go get more books, and we kind of just making characters and having them do stuff, so we resorted to doing, someone would run a campaign. There weren't any, stats or rules or anything, and just to see, to make actions happen, big actions, you just did rock, paper, scissors with the DM or whoever you were up against. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and eventually Bones and I broke off, and we did our own RPs, and the way we RP, which is where most of these characters from our OC-tober are showing up. The way we RP is, it's really just collaborative storytelling, where he'll have a character, I'll have a character. Sometimes we write in paragraph form, where we just exchange paragraphs of actions happening. Sometimes we do it in a script format, where we're the character, we just type what they're speaking or what they're saying. And so eventually we were doing an RP with, it was him and one of our other friends, and that was where Sovereign came from. It was just an RP between us, and eventually we were we really like this, let's turn it into a comic. And our friend said, go for it. She wasn't part of the creative process. We kind of took Sovereign and ran with it. Yeah, so it started with working on Sovereign. He wrote out the whole script. I started working on it. As the years went on, he did many, many rewrites on Sovereign, and I just worked away on it, and I think we worked on Sovereign for 5 years, and we also did Pretty Mouth together, and The Magpie, and now we're working on 9 Point, so yeah, we've been a little comic team for a while now, and it all started with RPing, yeah. I've had lots of questions on here about finding creative partners and how to work with a creative partner, and it's really tough. I think specifically Pigeon Boy, my friend on here, asked how do you deal with disagreements between you and your creative partner? And Bones and I, it took a long time for us to get into our groove, because right now we've got everything down to a science. He handles all the scripts. He gives me the scripts to read. I give him like my honest reactions as I'm reading them for the first time, and then we start to do design work, and then eventually it turns into pages. But he's usually in charge of like all the writing aspects, creating the script, fleshing out the characters. Even when they do start from an RP, it's usually like we will RP these characters together, and then eventually he's like, I'm going to take this and use it for a script. And I'm like, cool, do it. So then he will take it, the RP usually stops, and it gets turned into a script. Though recently a lot of our scripts don't begin as RPs. Pretty Mouth did, Sovereign did. 9 Point, we attempted to RP it at the beginning. Bones was like, I want to do an RP with Cat Knights. I was like, hell yeah. And then he was like, I don't know if this is going to work. I think I want to turn it into a script. And I was like, okay, cool. So 9 Point we didn't get too far into. I think we did like, 10 paragraphs before he was like, no, I want to use this. And I was like, okay, cool. I will leave it to you, my friend. And he works as like the creative director to all of our comics. He usually has like a vision for really important scenes or layouts or panels. For the most part, I do have a lot of creative reign over how I want to visualize his scripts. Like, he will just give them to me and I will follow the directions as closely as I can. I'm really bad. A lot of the time I misread and he will be like, excuse me, that is not what I wrote. And I will be like, oops, my bad. But I do have a lot of free reign over the artwork. He trusts me to interpret his scripts into a way that he enjoys. I think that just comes from us working together for a long time, because when we started working together, our ideas didn't always mesh. I would take something and I would draw it, and he'd go like, this panel, I don't like it, this isn't what I pictured, this isn't even what I wrote sometimes. And I was like, well, this is how I want to do it. And I think a lot of our troubles came from when I was trying to work really quickly, so I would take one of his scenes and I wouldn't draw it properly because I was going so fast, or I didn't have the skill level to like do it any justice. And back then we didn't sit down together, and like if there was something I was struggling with, he currently will sit down with me and be like, okay, let's figure out this layout. Here's what I'm envisioning. If I'm having trouble with a panel, I'll be like, hey, can you help me work this out? Because he has a very good eye for like composition. So he will usually tell me like, try this composition or this one. Or sometimes like we'll both be really stumped and he's like, maybe just go sketch some ideas. And eventually I will rough out a whole bunch of different things and he'll kind of pick which one feels right. Or sometimes that just sends me in the right direction where I know where I want to go, and then he's like, yeah, I like it now. But yeah, so now currently he will sit down and we will work together. If I'm really struggling with a layout or if something looks weird, he'll tell me. Or in the past, we would fight about it. He'd be like, you need to redo this, it looks bad. Or he would sit on his hands and not tell me until like we'd printed it. And he's like, I hate how you did this panel. And I'm like, oh, why didn't you tell me? And he's like, well, I didn't want to start a fight. So we've definitely had disagreements in the past. There are also times where I will read a script of his and I will be totally confused. I'll be like, I don't like this. This is I don't understand what's going on. And he'll have to take it and rewrite it. And again, that was a lot harder when we started working together. We had a lot of like personal feelings really involved in our work. And that can happen when you're working with a friend or like with us, with the person we're dating. Because like, you know, your work is very personal to you. And you can bring in emotions that are, like, outside of your work in. So if we're having a fight about, like, I don't know, doing the dishes, we might come into our work and still be fighting and talking about the comic work, but really we're fighting over dishes. So yeah, it's very common to, like, it's very difficult. It can feel very personal, but just through working together, sometimes when we need to take a break, we'll often go like, this isn't working, let's take a break, do our own thing for a little bit. Like, I'll go sketch out ideas, you go work on the script, we'll come back to this later. It's just a lot of communication to each other, just saying like, you know, if I'm confused about something, I need to tell him that I'm confused. If he doesn't like something, he needs to tell me that he doesn't like how it looks, you know, and it goes both ways. We both need to tell each other these things, and just through years and years of working on it, we have created a really good rhythm. So if you have a creative partner and like you're starting out feeling, it starts out feeling really tough, it will get easier the more you work with each other. I think that happens with like any work, any project. When you first start working with someone, you really have to like work hard to work well together. And there's a whole bunch of like difficult parts with working with a creative partner. working on any project, one that I used to run into all the time before I met Bones was that I would start a project with someone and then they'd leave. Whether it was like someone I met online or just like a friend from school or something, they would lose interest because they weren't as passionate about it as me, or I'd lose interest in what they had because I wasn't very interested. So it can be really hard to like find someone who will stick with you. Bones and I, again, we really lucked out because we were big fans of each other's work before we started working together. So yeah, seek out people that you really enjoy their work. Ask to work with them. It especially works well if you're friends. But when you start working together, there's definitely things you have to work out. But yeah, like I said, Bones is like my favorite writer ever. I'm always super excited when he has new stories and new scripts. He really likes my artwork when I'm feeling really down about how my work looks. He's always like, no, you have like a very unique style and like, I really like the way you draw things, and he'll tell me all this nice stuff about my art and it really peps me up when I'm feeling down or I can't get something to work right. And I do the same thing for his writing, where when he's feeling really like discouraged about his work, I will read it and remind him about how good it is and how much I love his work. So yeah, I think we have a very healthy working relationship and I really like working with him, and he's a huge sweetie. And as you can tell if you've watched his writing videos, they are all really great and really informative. I'm always excited when he puts out a new writing video because he usually will record them in secret when I'm at work, and then I get to come home and I get to watch them, and it's really nice. And he's so smart, guys. We also, early on when we were working together, we made like a contract. This sounds super like businessy and cold, I will admit, but it definitely helped when we were first starting to work together. We sat down when we were first starting Sovereign, and we wrote a contract that said like who owned what if we like ever split, or like what would happen with the comic if we split. God, I can't even remember what it was, but there was a contract saying like we have to work together on this project. I also used to do pledges to myself where I'd be like, I'm gonna get so and so many pages done by like, I don't know, this August, and it's like April or something. Like I remember when we first started Sovereign, the first chapter, I like started it in April and I wrote out a little chart to like chart my progress of pages, and I was like, I'm gonna have this ready for August 14th, and then I did like 50 pages in a few months. It was crazy. I don't know how I did it, but we used to do that a lot. We'd write contracts for each other, and that can be really scary, and I think that might turn like people away quite a bit. I also don't know what we would have done if we'd like broken the contract, but sometimes you just need that like little bit of accountability to like keep someone, I don't want to say like forcing them to like work with you even if you hate it, because if you're working together and you find that like you can't stand working with each other, it's totally okay to like drop the project and leave, or take a break, whatever you need. Because, like, you don't want to work with someone where it hurts your relationship. Because Bones and I would have hiccups, but we wouldn't ever, we never wanted to break up because of comics. So that is very important. You should have fun working together, even when it's hard. Because don't get me wrong, there's going to be points where you're frustrated with each other, or the project is really hard, and you're going to want to stop. But, you gotta stick together for the love and for the project. I like Bones a lot. I'm gonna keep saying that, because he's really cute, and it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Boo. You're a sweetie. I think that's all I have. If you have drawn Calamity, please send us pictures. I don't know if anyone will, but if you did, let us know. We want to see it. Bones will be very happy, because I never draw Calamity, and part of me doesn't want to design him because it'll make the joke go on forever. But send us stuff. Send him birthday wishes. Send him high fives. He's not a huggy guy, so high fives are the way to go. My throat is giving out because I forgot to bring water to my recording. Thank you so much for watching. We will be doing a live stream tomorrow afternoon. All our other videos have stopped for Inktober, but we'll still be doing the live stream. It's going to be birthday themed for Bones, and we'll probably work on 9 Point, so be there, 2 p.m., maybe. Bones cut the time stuff out. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it will. If you haven't heard, go check out our call for submissions for comic and fiction anthology about LGBT werewolves. It's called Moonlight. There's a link to it in the description down below. If you have a comic or a story, or you want to make one about queer werewolves, we want to see it. We want to see your work shine. So yeah, if you have any questions, make sure to leave a comment below. And if you want to see more content about inking and webcomics, make sure to subscribe. I will see you guys in 2 days. Goodbye!